All right. Thanks for coming back. um, Again, we talked about last two videos have been about Captain Moroni and his uses of the strength of the Lord. One, he was asking people to come fight using the strength of the Lord, and one, he was saying we are losing this war because we are not fighting with the strength of the Lord. I love it. He sends Pahoran is the governor this letter, and he just tears into him. And Pahoran is the governor of the land, and he receives this letter, and then he writes back to Moroni, and it's really cool. But Pahoran gets this letter, this just ripping into him for what an awful job he's doing. And I like his letter back, and he's like, "Hey Moroni, I'm not mad at you. See, what happened here is those king men that we talked about. Now everyone's at war, and the internal city, the capital, there's a bunch of people who want to be king, and they take over. They take over the government during the war. People from inside take over the government during the war. Again, using flattery. I like how it keeps saying flattery. We hear that so many times. They use flattery to take over, and they take over the capital, the main city. They take over, and they kick everyone else out. So they have control of the capital. They've written a letter to the Lamanites and said, "Hey guys, we're on your side. We took the capital. What do we need to do?" So they take over, and now they're making an alliance with the bad guys that they're fighting. It's insane. So, and the verses are crazy. Like if you read these chapters, they're so good, and everything that's going on, and it's just wild. But I like what Pahoran writes back, and both these letters are pretty long. Pahoran's isn't as long. But he says, "Okay, Moroni, I've sent some provisions to your other armies. Not much, just a little. But if you can gather some people and come back to me, 61, Alma 61:17, we will go speedily against those dissenters in the strength of our God, according to the faith which is in us." Now, in the beginning, I said these first few videos, these 10 instances or whatever of the strength of the Lord, we are only using those 4 words in that order: strength of the Lord. But there's countless other times where we learn about the Lord's strength, God's strength. There's so many times they just switch those words up, and we're just sticking with the exact term. But I think this is one here, in the strength of God, according to the faith. Now, we've talked about faith before in other videos. Extremely important. Do I not only believe in Jesus Christ? Yeah, of course. Do I believe that Jesus Christ is going to help me win this war? Do I have so much faith that I know that we made the covenant with Jesus Christ? Is he going to keep his end of the deal? Is he going to save my people? Is he going to keep fighting for us? Do you have that faith? Do you have that faith in your own life? That's huge. And I think it's that belief, not just in him, but that he is going to help us. That's the huge difference. You have to believe that he's going to help us. And we'll talk more about that. So we talk about the strength of God. In 61:18, we will take possession of the city of Zarahemla. That's the capital city that we didn't name. That we may obtain more food. So we're going to take the capital back so we can get more food, send it to the other armies, and we will go forth against them in the strength of the Lord. And we will put an end to this great iniquity. Again, they're saying iniquity. It's not like we're going to do this thing and it'd be nice if we got this done. Like, we're fighting this iniquity. These people are out here fighting for us. They're fighting for freedom. They're fighting for God. They're fighting for our families. We're going to go in the strength of the Lord and finish this. And I think that's awesome. Like, Moroni started asking people to come in the strength of the Lord. And it appears that's what they got. Like, they were fighting and they were winning and amazing things were happening. And then people became wicked. And starting at the head of the people they became wicked, and everyone followed, and they became wicked, and they followed in the flattery and sin, and they lost the strength of the Lord, and they started losing the battles, and people were dying, and cities were being lost to the bad guys because they weren't fighting in the strength of the Lord anymore. Pahoran's saying, hey, Moroni, this is what happened. Come help me. Let's get the capital back. Come forth in the strength of the Lord, and we will take it back. And I love that because he's not like saying it's us. Like, he doesn't write back and say, we're mighty warriors. We're going to take him back. We're going to take him down because we're awesome like that. No. And Captain Moroni is a seasoned warrior. I mean, he's been fighting wars for a long time, and he's one of the greatest. And he's fighting in the strength of the Lord. After all these years, he hasn't changed. I'm fighting in the strength of the Lord. He's a mighty warrior. He knows that he needs God's help. And I love that. And I like the last verse of that chapter of the letter that he's sending to Moroni. See that ye strengthen Lehi and Teancum in the Lord. So he's strengthening they're the other generals. I don't think I named them either, but those other armies, they're over those other armies. See that you strengthen them in the Lord. And I think that's more than just sending them food and some swords or whatever. Strengthening them in the Lord, I think, is making sure they have that faith and know that we are fighting in his name. Continues, tell them to fear not, for God will deliver them. Yea, and also all those who stand fast in that liberty wherewith God hath made them free. And I really like that. Fear not, for God will deliver them. And I think that's the difference right there. That's the other part of faith. Yes, you believe in Jesus Christ. Do you believe that he will deliver you? Pahoran has perfect faith. Let Teancum and Lehi know to not fear. We're going to win. Don't fear. Things don't look good. We're hungry. It's been rough. We will win. And they're losing. They lost the capital. They're losing the wars. They don't have the food. Like, so many things are going wrong. And Pahoran writes back, in absolute faith, tell them not to fear. We're going to win. Can we do that in our own lives? I made a promise with God. God promised me this. I felt this. I felt this win. I felt this was going to happen. I'm staying true. Things aren't looking good. Do we have that faith to, even in that dark time, say, fear not? God will deliver us. God will deliver them. God will deliver me. I love it. I love it. Have that faith is huge. And I love Pahoran's answer and what Captain Moroni has been doing. And it's so awesome. And I think when we read these verses, and sometimes we're like, I'm not going to read verses about war. I don't want that. It's amazing when we apply it to our own lives and our own spirituality and our own fights and our own faith and the faith that we have in God delivering us and having that faith to fear not, knowing God will deliver us. And we are fighting in the strength of the Lord. Fear not.